Hey, good morning, guys. It is April 18th. Actually, it's the 19th, and I'm recording this a little bit late, so my apologies. We were traveling all day yesterday, and it's a little late in the morning, so I just realized my sunglasses are shading, so apologies. But readiness is what Chambers is talking about, and he refers to Exodus 3:4, where God shows up in front of Moses in a burning bush, and then Moses responds. And so that's the kind of the theme that Chambers is talking about: readiness to respond when God speaks or when He calls. And I thought of a couple other people that stood out to me as being called by God and them responding. Samuel was one. Samuel, if you remember, his calling comes in the middle of the night. God calls to him while he's in bed, and he thinks it's Eli the priest, but he responds to Eli, and then Eli finally realizes, no, it's God talking to you. So you need to just say, your servant is listening. Yes, Lord, your servant is listening. And that's Samuel's response. And Isaiah, here am I, send me, is his response to God. But Moses, his response is the same, here I am. And so the I think the key point that Chambers is trying to get across to us is that we need to, first of all, be able to recognize when God calls, and secondly, respond immediately when He does. He says many of us are like men in a fog when God calls. We give no answer, and that's really kind of heartbreaking, in all honesty, to think about that God would call and we would not hear Him. We wouldn't see the call or hear the call of God, and we wouldn't respond. He said, and Chambers here says, we're so busy telling God where we would like to go. So I think what that would look like in our lives is we're so busy with our own agendas, our own plans, and thinking that God will bless them because they're good, that God will bless them, that we don't, when God actually calls us, we don't, we're too distracted by our own agendas that we don't understand what His is. I think it's a plague, in all honesty, in the church today, is that we have our own agenda. We're so busy. And maybe that's the key too to Moses here. Moses is in the wilderness being a shepherd. You know, the busyness is not something that, and think about Samuel. Samuel was asleep at night, or trying to sleep, going to sleep. It's the quiet times. Moses is out in the middle of nowhere, no one around him. Samuel is in his bed at night. Isaiah, God calls him up into this vision, and that's when he gets his attention. And so I think maybe that's really what's at the heart of it is the times when we're alone, that God can actually speak to us without some other voice in our ear. And that's by the way, a real conviction of mine, is to get the other voices out of my ears so that I can hear God when He calls. Chambers here in the second part. Readiness for God means that we are ready to do the tiniest little thing or the great big thing. It means no difference. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the big things. And these are things, obviously, right here when Moses is called by God. God's calling him to do one of the biggest things in history, which is to go to Pharaoh. And so this is an example of God calling to do a big thing. But there are many times in the ministry of Moses with the Israelites that God asks him to do small things, and Moses has to be listening when God asks him to do the small things. But we're so enamored by the big stuff that the little stuff, we don't realize that God is testing us, but also that He's in all of them. And that's where how Chambers wraps up. And I really like this kind of focus, which is, he'll put us where He likes, in pleasant duties or in mean duties, in kind of not miserable, but yeah, kind of dirty and menial is what we would say today, menial tasks. And so the goal is, and here's how Chambers wraps it up, that they may be one even as we are one, is what Jesus said. And I think that's, for me, that was the kind of what stood out to me in this study today, which is God says, hey, I'm over here. And you say, oh, yes, Lord, can I approach you? And that's what Moses does here. God says, here, I'm over here in this bush. And Moses says, it says, God says, "Come, but take your shoes off." So come over here where I am. And I think that's what Chambers is getting at here. God wants us to be where He is. He wants to be one with us. And so when He's in the small stuff, when He's in the big stuff, He's like, "Hey, over here, come over here where I am, so that we can be one." Hope that is an encouragement today, guys. Have a great day.